Today we're going to be talking about sports drinks and whether you should be consuming them. Let's go. Hi, I'm Alex, a sports dietitian and nutrition coach. Welcome again to my channel. Great to have you here. So sports drinks are super popular. You got Gatorade, you got Powerade, you got Staminade, and they're popular among athletes and non-athletes alike. However, then the question becomes, who should be consuming sports drinks? Is it just athletes? Is it active individuals? Is it for everyone? That's what we're going to answer today. Because sports drinks are so universally available, and because you can just pop to your local store and buy some, anyone can get their hands on them. But just like with anything sports related, that's something that you have to consider. Is it actually going to apply to you? Is it an extra waste of money that you don't need? Is it potentially unsafe for you? Is it something that you just won't get any benefit from? These are things you would want to consider. I'm going to deep dive into sports drinks today, look at the evidence, look at the science behind it to see and show you exactly who should be consuming them or consider consuming them and who doesn't really get any benefit beyond the fact that it tastes great. So let class commence now. So first we're going to start with what are sports drinks. I mean, we all know, Gatorade, Powerade, all that sort of stuff, but what exactly makes a sports drink a sports drink? Well, it's essentially a solution made of water, electrolytes, typically sodium, and carbohydrates for fueling. Although these days you can get the sugar-free versions where it gives you just the liquids and the electrolytes. And to go beyond that, the actual definition of a sports drink based on, expert position statements is the following. So sports drinks are a drink that has the composition that provides maximal palatability, delivery of fuel and hydration, while also having the following criteria met. Carbs to be within 4 to 8% or 4 to 8 grams per 100 milliliters of liquid, and sodium to be between 23 to 69 milligrams per 100 milliliters of liquid. That's kind of generally where most sports drinks kind of fall upon because, like I said, the science shows that that's the way to maximize palatability, maximize the rapid delivery of the fuel and the hydration to your body. Now let's talk about why are sports drinks typically consumed. The kind of 4 reasons that athletes use them. Number 1, for performance optimization through fueling. Essentially, through providing carbohydrates for fueling, which provides the performance edge. Number 2, for performance optimization through hydration optimization. The more hydrated you are, the better your performance is going to be compared to if you were dehydrated. Number 3, through recovery of stores, aka your carbohydrate stores, aka your glycogen stores. So you're getting the process of recovery going for the next session. And 4, for recovery from the perspective of fluid recovery, okay? Getting rehydrated after your session, replenishing fluids lost, so you can start that process as well. So that's the 4 typical reasons people consume sports drinks beyond obviously, I like the taste. So now we know what sports drinks are, and we know why people use them, or why they should be using them, so to speak. So now let's look at the science. Does the science actually support the use of sports drinks? And if so, in whom? So overall, research does show that there is an improvement in performance and fatigue management in athletes who consume sports drinks. Most of this was found in athletes who do longer duration, high intensity exercise. We're talking about 1 hour and above, your endurance-based exercises, or doing sports for longer, for example, tennis. However, there has been also evidence to show that it helps in team sports as well by helping reduce the perception of exertion, aka when you have it, it doesn't feel like you're exerting yourself as much. And also can improve pacing as well. But because there's so much research out there, I just want to put it in a little nutshell for you. So I'm going to break it down based on duration and what the research generally is showing. So for activities less than 45 minutes, the research shows that it's generally not needed. For activities over 45 minutes to up to 75 minutes, it can help, but mainly for the interaction through the central nervous system. That's the stuff we talk about how it reduces physical exertion perception and that sort of stuff, where it kind of interacts more so with the central nervous system versus directly fueling your body, so to speak. And then for activities over 75 minutes or for endurance exercise beyond 1 hour, the research is quite strong, saying that sports drinks can be a very viable strategy that you can use. Now, obviously, with all this said, this is not advice. Everyone's individual and your circumstances could be different. So it's always recommended you do speak to a sports dietitian who can tailor the advice to you and see if sports drinks are actually right for you. But just to give you general guidance, yes, there is evidence to support sports drinks. Just depends on what kind of activity you're doing and depends on your individual needs. And the general consensus is the longer you exercise, the more kind of beneficial a sports drink is going to be for you, the less you exercise, the less so. But even when we're talking about things that are of shorter duration, especially things like team sports, if you're not playing the full 45 minutes, that's okay. Sports drinks can still help, even if it's just kind of putting some sports drinks in your mouth and just rinsing your mouth with it. That can actually help you. Okay, there's been research to show that can help you because your brain, your central nervous system, kind of responds to that and feels like it's getting some fuel. So that's kind of something that can also help. So keep in mind, there are some caveats to this. There are some contextual things you got to consider, but generally speaking, under 45, less needed, over 45, more needed. Simple. Now, before we wrap it up, I do want you to understand there are some concerns or considerations you got to kind of think about. Now, they're not saying that it's like, oh, every time you consume a sports drink, you got to think about these issues. But they're things that you maybe want to consider when you look at the grand scope of things and whether you yourself should go out and actually start using sports drinks as part of your nutrition strategy. Number one is unnecessary expense. You really want to know, do you need sports drinks? I mean, if you're drinking it because you enjoy them, okay, fine. But if you're drinking them for the purpose of sports performance, you want to think about, is it actually applicable to your situation? Otherwise, it might be an unnecessary expense. Number two, unnecessary calorie increase. Now, this is something that athletes maybe don't need to worry about as much as they typically do because there is some over-obsession about being low calorie. But if you are an athlete who is trying to watch their food intake or who is trying to work on their physique, this might just provide that extra bit of calories. So it's just something to consider that it does have calories unless you're going for the zero option. And then number three is dental issues. Now, this is saying typically why we don't recommend sports drinks in younger athletes, but even in older athletes, you want to make sure that you're focusing on dental health as well. So if you're consuming sports drinks on a regular basis, there might be some implications for dental health, so make sure you're following good dental hygiene. Okay, so that is all of it wrapped up. So now let's give a verdict, okay? In the end, what do I say? What's my kind of guidance? Even though, like I said, this is not advice, this is guidance for you to make your decision going forward. But the verdict is the following. The research does support the use of sports drinks in athletes who are doing activities of high intensity or longer duration, who may benefit then from that extra fuel through the interaction through the central nervous system and or through the optimization of hydration. And the recommended amount, that depends on the individual and the exercise. So that's something that we can't really even guide. But the thing is that you want to understand is that most active individuals, especially those who aren't kind of playing a specific sport or doing very extreme exercise, they're not going to generally benefit from the use of sports drinks. So if you're consuming them and you're just a general gym goer, then you're doing it just from the flavor perspective, okay? It's not going to actually give you any tangible benefits from a performance perspective. But that doesn't mean it's right or wrong to consume it. Just think about that when it comes to, are you drinking it for a specific performance purpose? Additionally, I do want to say that there are a lot of liquids that can hydrate just as well as sports drinks for most individuals. Example, classic H2O, okay, water. So yeah, work on your water game. This is now even for athletes. You're watching this, you're like, yeah, no, I'm an athlete. I do basketball every week, I'm competitive, whatever it may be. Water's still going to be your primary thing. Always make sure your water game is strong before you then add sports drinks to the mix. Because supplements, okay, when you look at the hierarchy, supplements are at the top, okay? They're a small piece of the puzzle. You want to focus on most of the other things first, the foundations, the fundamentals. That's going to what's enable you to become better as an athlete. And then sports drinks might just help. So yeah, there you go. That's the lowdown on sports drinks. I hope it's been informative. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions, please reach out, okay? Reach out, drop a comment below and let me know what your question is. But then what I want to know more specifically in the comments is, do you consume sports drinks right now? And what's your reason for doing so? Okay, there's no right or wrong answers. Just if you consume sports drink, yes or no, and what's the reason that you do? If you don't have to give a reason unless you want to. But if you do, drop a reason below. Hit the like button, okay? Hit the like button if this video has been informative. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, okay? Subscribe to the channel so you stay in the loop whenever I release one of these videos. And while you're at it, you might as well hit the bell so you know exactly when I do so. Until next time, stay classy, have a good one. See you later. Bye.